So we always used to beef about this thing for real. And I'm glad we finally figured it out. We finally figured out how to not fight over family traditions, right? Not over family issues, over family tensions. It took us way too long to figure it out, but I think we finally figured it out.
Yeah, it took us a hot minute.
And it made us a hot mess.
Yes, a lot of crying, a lot of yelling.
But we're going to tell you how we did it. Thank you for joining us in the living room. Welcome
back
to the living room, where we have real conversations for the real spaces we all live in. And this is a real space. And I hope you joining us in the room today helps you out. For too long, we lost too many Thanksgivings. We lost too many Christmases. When I mean we lost them, I mean we had them, but we had them angry in the car.
Yeah, bad attitudes.
Bad attitudes at the table. We were not very, full of holiday cheer and holiday
spirits.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the holidays, right? It was a weekend here, a weekend there.
Yes, an obligation here, an obligation there.
Yeah, the tension between feeling like I'm picking between you and them,
right?
And the truth is, figuring it out was actually pretty simple, but it wasn't easy,
Yeah, even figuring it out, I think it took us a minute to figure out how to appropriately set boundaries with family members, and with ourselves, and how we wanted our life to look.
Yeah, well, I love you because you always jump right to the let's just go to the point. But I think where we start though is you have to attack it at the root, right? You have to attack it not at the branches, not at the fruit itself, right? Like the moment of, because I think sometimes if you don't attack and if you don't address it at the root, you'll create I want a boundary around, I don't want to fight anymore. So I'm just not going to be there. I'm just going to avoid it. And I think we did that for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Your personality very much is, I'm just going to avoid. I'm not going to confront it. My personality is very much, I'm going to confront it. So either we're not fighting or we're fighting. There was never an in between, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to do it where you don't have to avoid, you don't have to fight. You can just determine, you know what? We're just going to live in a completely different space. Mm-hmm. And it's not by addressing the issue, it's addressing all the underlying traditions behind it, underlying obligations. And I think that's what it is right there, because here's what I mean by that. Let me make it really plain. For years, we had some tensions on both ends of our families for years, and we drew boundaries, but it was still tense between me and you.
Right.
It was still tense within the boundary. Mm-hmm. So the boundary itself didn't fix the issue. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think what helped fix the issue was, like you said, getting to the root cause, which was understanding, okay, why does this make us sick every time, this situation comes along? And then why can't we talk about it? Uh-huh. So when we finally started being able to talk about it, and you've got to know that even when you talk about it, it might not be pretty. It's going to be confrontational. Yeah. It's going to be somebody's going to get hurt. We're still trying to come to an understanding of what the vision is supposed to be. So until you can actually get past that, you can't even set the appropriate boundary for yourself, for the couple, and for the family.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of addressing, and I like that you did some good expectation management. I wish we had someone or something like this to help us set the expectation management, because
we had no clue.
We didn't realize that it was actually going to put us at odds with each other.
Yes.
First. And it just kind of naturally happens, and confrontation will do that. Addressing things in life will do that. And when it comes to addressing the family issues, when it comes to addressing family tensions, period, you have to confront. And what are some of the things we confronted? Well, what Diana just said was we really did a root cause analysis. What's the thing? What's the thing that's making it feel weird? For us, one of the things was this projected feeling of duty, and you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to come. You're obligated.
Yeah.
And there's something about feeling obligated versus wanting to, right? And like a lot of places, for me, right? Like there was a lot of tension because I felt obligated. Hey, I have to go do this with my family and I have to go do this. And look, I'm not saying don't do things with your family. Like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the outcomes of time with family, aren't the best, you have to be honest about it.
Yeah.
You have to address it. And you can't within your unit, right? So if you're married or if you're like, even if you're siblings, or if you're just a single person who's trying to sort this out, you can really have some really borderline. I think toxic is a strong word, but maybe it's not toxic. But you can have some really extreme conversations and extreme emotions when it comes to interactions with your family. Because I'm saying it right now, babe, and even as I'm saying it right now, I feel like, oh my gosh, is this right to say? Is it not right to say? But here's the thing: if time with anyone, not just family, but time with anyone doesn't leave you fulfilled, it doesn't leave you like you've been given life. If it takes from you, if it drains you, if it makes you be off, you know what I mean? Like for a day or two where you're just like, oh man, I'm just off.
Like that relationship just took so much from me.
Right. You really should investigate that.
Yeah.
You really should analyze it. You really should think about that, you know?
And that I think that's it. You become aware of like, hold on, this makes me feel really bad when I'm with these people or this person, and realize that you have a choice and you can choose not to go or you can choose not to be present. A lot of times, I guess the only culture that we can speak of is our culture, which is Mexican culture,
Mexican, Latino
where
culture.
you are obligated to attend everybody's birthday, everybody's wedding, everybody's whatever. And
cousins that we don't know,
Right.
quinceañeras.
Right.
For people that are like third cousins, and it's like, I have no idea who this person is.
I remember growing up, we had to do everything. Well, at that point, you have to do it because you're with your parents, right? So they make you go. But it came a point in my life where I could drive, I could make the decision. You know what? I don't have to be there.
But the thing is, it's about being guilted about it, right? Like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say about you? What are they going to think about you?
Yeah.
How could you not? And it's like I cannot because I didn't, right? But here, I love that you brought that up, right? Like I think the real friction that we're trying to get to though is not just the interaction that you have, like let's say with your parents, right, or with your cousins who are like, hey, how come you didn't come to the thing or whatever? You know, sometimes if like for us in our context, we were married, the sense of obligation to family external from our home, right, was creating friction. And it was almost like I was feeling more duty to them than I was feeling to you.
Yeah.
And that I would, you know, and that right there is upside down. That sense of duty, that sense of obligation is misplaced.
Right. That sends you to therapy. Just kidding.
Eventually, well, here's the thing. It's not the duty. It's not the misplaced sense of duty that sends you to therapy. It's the years of fighting.
Yeah.
Right. Of like, oh yeah, well, I mean, but my mom wants me to come, but I always do this with my mom. I know, but you're doing it at the expense of your wife. You're doing it at the expense of your husband. You're choosing your brother and sister at the expense of your family. And I think there's a place where you can have both but it has to be in the right hierarchy. It has to be in the right order. You know, and so for us, it took years for us to really place those things in the right order.
Yeah.
And mostly not because we weren't aware, but because we were like, the truth is, and now I carried more of it than you did, I think. But it was just, I didn't want to deal with or confront the unhealthy misalignment. Right. I'm really careful to say toxicity. Now, for some of us, it is toxic.
Yeah.
It's very, very toxic. And it's almost like, you know, the mother-in-law is mad at the daughter-in-law because the daughter-in-law took her son.
Are we talking about Mexican culture again, where the only son is the king of the world? And I tell you that because I see older patients all the time, and that's literally what they tell me. they'll tell me, oh, I had 2 daughters or I had 5 daughters, but then I have 1 son and él es el rey. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
I
it's
don't
just
know.
a culture thing.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
the baby.
maybe. I think by and large, though, broader, it really is this like, look, like Latinos are very tribal, like most families are, right? So we can only speak to our context, but there's a lot of tribal, there's a lot of real connection, and I think that's beautiful. I think that's cool when it's done in a healthy way. But I don't think there should ever be a sense that's coming between a home and an extended family.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, though. We're not talking about, man, we're really looking forward to this monthly cookout we do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
It takes over.
no, it's like, hey, how come you took your daughter for her 10th birthday to Disneyland and you didn't invite us? You know, that kind of thing was, now that didn't happen to us, you know what I mean? But that kind of thing is like, I've heard about that, right? Where like a family unit wants to go do something and they're getting shade from extended family for like, why'd you guys go do something without us? And it's like, dude, because we're a family, because we made a decision, you know, like, hello, right? And I think, you know, that those issues and those dynamics create a lot of drama, unnecessary, especially in a marriage context.
Yeah, well, that drives people pretty much to divorce, honestly, because
really does.
It gets so, and the word is toxic. It does.
I
get
know.
So
I don't know why.
toxic.
I don't know why I was trying to avoid it. I really was trying to avoid it so bad. But you're absolutely right. It really
I mean,
it makes
in the
it toxic.
biblical sense, because you always come back to the scriptures, right? Where once you get married, you leave your mother
For
and
this
father.
reason,
Right.
a man will leave his mother and his father. Which let me
The
push
King
pause
James
there.
version.
Well, that's the New Living Translation also. For this reason, will man leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife, and the two
Right.
become one. Right. But here's what's interesting, that it speaks to a man leaving, which is very like. Now I don't like. Look, fellas, I don't want you to get upset at me, and ladies, I don't want you to go tell your husband and be like, "See, I knew you were the problem." Chances are, if you go do that, you might need to go look in the mirror. No, but I'm serious. Like you're absolutely right though. Like we've got to leave that. You know, there's a healthy separation.
Well, I think because, I mean, if the man is supposed to lead the family, I think that's why that maybe scripture is written that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
I thought you were going to expound on that. So I was waiting for it.
No. Like,
I'm like,
no.
it's
It's written to a man
scriptural.
for a reason.
Okay.
And then, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I do think in our sense, you stood up for our family and you drew that line, that hard line, and was like, okay, this is what I would like my family to be, and this is who we're gonna be. And we started to have vision for our family, and you led that.
Yeah, vision and intention. I think intentionality was a big deal, but it did not begin without healthy confrontation. And I know we can talk about vision all day. We can talk like blah, blah, blah. But it won't happen without you confronting it. That's the bottom line.
And
it
to
won't.
me, that's an irony when you say a healthy confrontation, because to many people, confrontation will never be healthy. And that word alone is just so scary to so many. So I don't want you to think because you're in a place of confrontation that you're already in the wrong. No, for real. Because
No, I
some
agree.
people
I
feel
agree.
like,
I
no,
agree.
some people believe like, oh, it's supposed to just happen and people are just going to like agree with me. And that's not real life.
Not all the time. Sometimes we get lucky and sometimes all the stars aligned and it's wonderful, but that's not usually how it goes, right? So let's talk about this, right? So if you're going to address family tensions, if you're going to come out with a solution, if you're going to emerge and the family unit and the family dynamic and the family structure that you dream of, that you hope for, that you pray about, if it's going to happen, it's going to require several things. Number one, you have to confront what's not working. You have to be honest. There's a lot of statements that are very cliche, but cliches are powerful because they're true. Statements like what you don't confront will never change.
Yeah.
Right? Or what you don't transform, you're always going to transmit. This is why, I think it's hilarious, right? Like I remember going to family functions, not necessarily my own, but like other people's family functions, because I grew up most of my life in El Paso. right? Like pretty much my whole adult life, I've lived in El Paso. I don't have family other than your family in the city. I'm the only one of my kind between here and Southern California, right? So there's not a lot of family functions, quote unquote, for me to go to that are my own family, right? So I would go to like other family functions. I'd get invited to like a cookout or a birthday party or a quinceañera or whatever. And it was so funny to me because it's like, okay, this is a family thing, but it's very obvious. I mean, you've been there too, where it's very obvious that the tios and tias don't want to be here. And the tios and the tias are like at odds with each other. And you can tell this cousin is beefing with that cousin and this tia is beefing with that grandma.
And the only reason he knows this, guys, is because Cruz loves to people watch. So he knows what's going on, even if he doesn't know your family.
I love to people watch.
He knows everybody's story because he's watching. I'm like oblivious to what the heck is going on around me. 100%.
I think if you watch people for long enough, they're going to show you everything.
No, they do. But I don't. So that's what I'm saying. Unless somebody tells me, then I don't know because I'm not paying attention.
And anyways, my point is this, right? Like, so you're like at a family party function that everyone's everyone's making like this is a priority, but no one wants to be there.
Nobody wants to be there.
No one's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Now, look, I understand. Maybe your family's absolutely amazing, and maybe your family's like, no, we love being here. We love.
Invite us.
Great, for real. Invite me. I won't believe it till I see it. Invite me to the carne asada. We'll go, and I'll just watch, and I'll tell you whether or not it's true.
We'll give you the report after.
Well, I'll totally do the assessment. No, but to me, I think it's so hilarious that everyone makes a priority of this thing out of obligation and tradition and never out of desire and enjoyment.
Yeah, which is crazy because there's no life that comes out of that except more drama.
Right.
Because the tia didn't talk to the tío and last week, and now it's just a whole new drama that can be added to the layers and layers of animosity.
I agree.
Of the family.
And when you decide to confront it, you'll be the first one to be honest to say, look, none of y'all fools want to be here either. I'm just the one that's not going to waste the Saturday.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wife on a date, or I'm going to take my kids on a drive, whatever.
Or if you're single, you can take yourself on a date and just, preserve your own mental health and wellness.
Yeah.
And not have to attend.
Yeah. So, the truth is if we're being honest, we all have some sort of dysfunctional. That's a good word. That's a better word than toxicity.
I like toxic.
I like the word dysfunction. It just came to me. But like we've all got a toxic dysfunction. We've all got some sort of dysfunctional aspect to the people we love the most, right? And the first place you start with saying, man, Cruz, like, Diana, I'm in your living room right now. How do we address it, man? How do we get over it? Man, me and my husband, we fight about this all the time. Me and my sister, we fight about this all the time. I'm sick of hearing it from my cousins. Like, where do I start? Well, the first place you start is with honesty. You have to start with honesty. You have to say, am I attending this, or am I feeling a sense of obligation because this is tradition? Why do I keep using the word tradition? The word tradition simply means something that you do systematically, repetitively. It's something that's done over and over, year after year, and you just expect it to happen, right? Now, some traditions are great. Some traditions are terrible, right? Trauma that's passed down from one family to the next, drama that's passed down, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to unpack that too heavy, but some traditions are not worth keeping.
Right.
Right. And so you have to ask yourself, am I caught up in a tradition or am I caught up in a real family value? Mm-hmm. Right. Now, the stuff that's valuable with your families, awesome. Enjoy that. Embrace that. Make that a priority. Make that a commitment. Right. But man, the places where it's a family tradition that's toxic and dysfunctional, you have to be honest about it. You have to look it in the face. And maybe you don't have to go, make a big speech to the matriarch or the patriarch of the family.
Yeah.
Because most times that's what it is, right? Like, ooh, you're gonna have to talk to him.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna have to go tell her. You're gonna have to talk to mom and tell her why you're not coming home for Christmas. Like some of y'all make it out of El Paso, right? Like, and it's like, man, yeah, I'm staying in Dallas for Christmas, or I'm staying in Seattle for Christmas or whatever. And it's like, ooh, yeah, you tell mom, not me, right? Look,
just send a text. Just kidding.
with some Cash App, you'll be all right. No, but like at some point, you cannot change something without confronting it. You have to, right? So you're going to have to confront it. So healthy confrontation is exactly that. I'm going to confront this For my health.
Yep.
For the health
That's
of
it.
my marriage, I'm going to confront this.
For the health of me.
For the health of my children, for the health of my mind,
Yes.
etc. I'm going to confront it, right? And then when you confront it, have your choices for change, right? What am I going to do? Have a choice for change. You know, what I love is that not every family is broken. No family is perfect, but not every family is broken either. And there are some great things to families. So sometimes your confrontation doesn't have to be like a hard stop. And I just want you to know you're never going to see me
Right.
again. Sometimes your confrontation is making a strong compromise.
Right.
Which
Hey.
that would be the boundary you talk about, right?
Yes, like I'm only coming for an hour.
Exactly.
Or I'm only going to do this, but you have to stick to your compromise. It's just like when you discipline your kids.
Yeah, stick to
you
your
can't-
commitment.
You have to stick to what you say, because then what happens, you're back in the cycle.
Right. So you stick to your commitment. So you confront, you stick to the commitment. This is what we
Mm-hmm.
committed to. And then you remind each other. Now I'm speaking, but you know what's so dope about this conversation, babe, is that it doesn't apply just to married folk, right? We've been saying that, but it applies to anybody. Like you remind yourself, because I remember sometimes going to family interactions of my own family. I'm willing to say it, that it's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this or not. And then, I start feeling some kind of way, but then I reminded myself, wait, hold on. This is a commitment I made. This is a compromise I made. I said I would go to this. Right. And so whenever you confront, whenever you have the choice for change, and whatever compromise you make, remember that commitment to that compromise, right? You remember, hey, no, I said I was going to go do this. So I'm going to go, and either I'm going to endure it or I'm going to enjoy it.
Right.
Either way, I said I was going to do this. And I like to think of it this way. Like, what if we view it as an investment, right? Like, I may not see a return at this party. I may
Right.
not see a return at this Christmas dinner. I may not see a return with this menudo, but I'm making an investment, right?
And again, that's your choice. You can also choose not to go. Like if you're not ready and that's going to be your commitment, then you choose, no, I'm not ready for that. And then you stick to that. That's also an investment.
Yeah, I think that's so healthy to bring up. I'm glad you brought that up. Sometimes the best commitment you can make is to stay away for a little bit.
Yeah.
To create some distance, to create
Until
a little
you're
bit
ready.
of a little bit of
Healing.
a little
And
space.
strength for
That's
yourself
very good.
to be able to commit to the commitment of
That's
the
really good.
hour or
That's
2
really, really
hours,
good.
whatever.
That's really, really good. I think that a lot of us don't give ourselves enough time there.
Yeah.
We don't heal both from the traditions that traumatized us,
Right.
and then we don't heal towards the confrontation. Sometimes you have to heal from the confrontation.
Yes.
Sometimes people, when you confront, sometimes people say things, they react. Listen, not everybody is like you. Not everybody's watching content to help them grow.
Yes.
Right? Not everybody is watching and receiving content to develop self-awareness, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And you just have to be aware of that. And sometimes people are going to lash out. Sometimes people are going to react instead of respond. Sometimes people are going to be emotional. And you have to just be aware that that's a them problem, not a you problem. And this is the very reason why
You're
you're
putting this
confronting and adding a boundary and making commitments for change, And I think at the tail end of it, this is actually a really life-giving conversation. We've never really walked through our process of how we've built boundaries like this,
No, we've never really verbalized it.
Yeah, I think we've addressed it between us, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever given it handles like this.
Yeah.
Because I'm legit just walking through what we've done over the last 20 years in terms of creating healthy boundaries, healthy spaces between us and our families, right? Both, that are wonderful, but at the same time are very human,
Yeah.
And it's been exactly what we're talking about, right? So I think once you make your commitments, once you draw your boundaries, once you understand, okay, this is a compromise, there's going to be some give and take. Here's been my favorite thing since then. My favorite thing has been, once I've drawn and I've created that health around my family of birth, I've allowed the Lord to bring a family of choice around me and around us. And those have been the places where we've received so much life
Yeah.
and so much joy. And I think it was hard for me specifically. You were faster to adapt to families of choice, people that we loved, and friends that came, and relationships that grew deep. And I think, but in our dynamic between me and you, I was the one that had the more hardcore, like, family, like, loyalty. And it's
Yeah,
like,
it
man,
was
I'm being
a weird syndrome.
it was very interesting. But I'm betraying my family, and I'm betraying my last name, and which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I would hold on to the wrong traditions in hopes of that one day they would become what I was always hoping for. I really would. I would hold on to dysfunctional traditions and dysfunctional interactions. And to defend and to the benefit of my family, sometimes it was internal to me. I never maybe I didn't voice the expectations to them, but I just hoped some things would shift, or I hoped some things would change. And because I don't want to paint them to be terrible people. They're wonderful people. But at the same time, there were some things that I was just kind of hoping for, that I knew, maybe I didn't know I needed, but I was craving them, and I didn't want to confront, because then it would mean that I would have to come to terms with, man, they weren't able to give me what I really needed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point too, because I think a lot of us sit in that seat of hoping, wishing, but it's really denial.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry.
Dang, that's a wow.
Yeah, because
Wow.
so most of the time when people show you who they are, we've got to believe them.
You have to believe them. You're so right.
And so we don't want to confront what we see. So if we sit in the seat of denial and wishful thinking, we still have a false hope of some sort, which will get us through.
Yeah.
Until you come to the point of, like, I can't take this anymore. And it's not ever going to be what it is. And then you have to go through disappointment in order to heal.
Yeah, no, you do. And I think that's a strong truth. I think that's a necessary truth. A lot of us call it being loyal to our family, but it really is just being in denial of what we see.
Yeah.
Denial of what's happened between us and them, or what's happened to us because of them. That's a big deal. And I think that's so important to address, right? But I think something special really happens, that when you come out of the other side of all of that, you start to discover that there is a family available to you. Then that's the family that you get to choose. People that you get to love on, people that you get to align with.
People that get to love on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you share the same values, and you enjoy the same things. And I think this is a real dynamic for, especially, I'm not trying to make it a culture race thing, but it really is sometimes a minority issue, where the second and third generation of a family grows and develops so much. And I really can't, sometimes I can't relate too much to the old traditions, and my mom really wants me to, but I don't even know what folklorico is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that sometimes you create that boundary, and you say, okay, I know when I go over, it's going to be mariachis and all of that. But man, what I really want to talk about is, like, whatever it is, I have a master's in art or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, and I want to talk about this stuff. And well, that's cool. Like, you have that boundary and you have that space, but then you have this other family in these other spaces of your life that you get to choose. And you get to say, man, I can't wait to spend time with them as well.
Yeah,
right?
That's beautiful.
And I think that's such a really, really cool thing. And I think, something that we didn't address earlier, Diana, and I feel compelled to share it, is especially to the marriages that are joining us in the living room. These family traditions and these family issues that create friction and dysfunction, toxicity, they really shouldn't be something that make or break your marriage. They shouldn't. They shouldn't be a place where you and your husband or you and your wife are at each other's throats about this.
Yeah.
When you came together, you were actually coming together to create a new offshoot of a family tree.
But it's crazy how people forget,
Yeah.
and the family pressure makes you feel like that's not a choice.
Right. I think if that's a context for you, I really do think you should push pause on all of the bickering, push pause on all the going back and forth and trying to be right and trying to get her to see your way and see, no, but like, no, this is why I'm faithful and loyal. And it's like, I know, but bro, you can be faithful and loyal to her. Actually, you should be faithful and loyal to her first.
Yep.
Before anything else, right? And so anyway, I think that there's a healthy process, right? You've got to confront it. You've got to commit to change. You've got to create the compromise, enjoy it or endure it, and then go find family that you get to choose.
Yeah.
Right? And don't let it drive you into a place where you're unhealthy, where you're not living your best life.
Yeah. Or you regret all those obligations
Yeah.
and you never actually made memories that are worth remembering.
Yeah. You don't want to look back and say, man, I lived a life of obligation.
Yeah.
And you don't want to raise your kids that way.
Yeah.
Diana and I, we've talked about this, and we'll talk about this down the line when we start talking about parenting. But we're trying to do our best to live our lives in a way that our children don't have to be around us. They want to be around us when they get older.
That's the hope.
Where we're a choice for them, where we're the family of origin and the family of choice for them, So speaking of family of choice, it's so incredible to have y'all in our living room. That was just that was a quick convo, but it was something that was in our hearts to share. Something that we were walking through literally today together, and it was important for us to share.
We've been walking, yeah.
Yeah, I think we had a couple breakthroughs today.
Yes.
And so we just said, you know what, we should push record on this conversation and invite people into the living room with us to share this with y'all. So listen, we're so grateful that you're in the living room. We're so grateful that we get to share this space with you guys. We say it all the time.
Push subscribe.
Hit that subscribe button. Hey, you'd be surprised how many people are enjoying our content that aren't subscribed. Listen, if this is your first time on one of our videos and you watch it all the way to the end, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's helpful to you. But there's a couple of y'all who have been kind of just lurking a little bit, and you've watched like a bunch of our videos and you like it. Yo, hit the subscribe button. Join the family, man. Stay in the room with us. Turn on the bell notification so you can see every time we drop. We drop every single week.
Let us be your family of choice.
I love that. We would love to be your family of choice. And so, hey, talk to us about some of the family traditions that are giving you life with you and your family, maybe in your kids, or we'd love to hear your experience with this. Or if you're going to go into a season of maybe confronting and you just need a little bit of support, maybe some prayer, we'd love to help you that way.
We gotcha.
So let us know in the comments or on Instagram. Hit us in the DMs. Our Instagram information is in the video description on this video and every video. We'd love to get connected with you guys. So love y'all. Until next time. Peace.